Okay, hi everyone. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. My name is Nikki. I'm a prospective student advisor here with Flinders University, and with me tonight I have Dr. Michelle Belon, who's the course coordinator of our Bachelor of Disability and Developmental Education. So I'm going to come back in a little bit later and answer any questions about the application process and highlight some dates that might be important to you. But for now, I will let you know that we do have a chat function that's available. So if you do have any questions throughout the duration of this presentation, please feel free to type them into that chat function and we'll answer them for you either at the end of this presentation or potentially during it as well. But what I'll do right now is hand it straight over and let the expert speak.
Wonderful, thanks Nikki. Hi everyone, so my name is Michelle Belon and I'm the course coordinator of the Bachelor of Disability and Developmental Education degree here at Flinders University. I was just explaining to Nikki a little bit earlier that I'm born and bred Flinders, so I actually did a version of this degree when I was first studying and then went on and did my PhD, worked clinically in private practice and with a number of different providers, and am now teaching and researching across a number of different areas. So I'm a developmental educator by trade, and that's the name of the professional allied health practice of our graduates. And a lot of my research and clinical practice is in the area of psychoeducational supports and community integration for adults following acquired brain injury and also people living with epilepsy and seizure disorders. So one of the great things about my job is I get to combine a little bit of teaching with research in the sector, coordinate the programs and help all of our students achieve success through the various degrees. So there's a few different degrees I'm actually going to be covering, and if you have some questions, I'm very prepared to have a crack at them. So like I mentioned, I'll talk about the Bachelor of Disability and Developmental Education here at Flinders, but also you may have some questions about our postgrad programs. So we've got a graduate certificate in disability studies, and we also have a brand new, hot off the press, grad cert in positive behaviour support, which I'll touch on, and also the Master of Disability Policy and Practice. So let's kick off. So in terms of the BDDE degree, so this is, if you were doing this degree full-time, it would take you 4 years, and it's also available for students who are naturally trying to balance work, life and study, so students can do this part-time. There is a time limit on the degree, so you do need to complete it in 8 consecutive years. So effectively that means that you could do this degree and enrol in 2 topics a semester, or what's known as 9 units per semester, and then balance that with your work and other life responsibilities. So the great thing about this degree is it's quite flexible. You can enrol internally, so if you're here in Adelaide, you can come along to lectures, tutorials, workshops, etc. here on campus. However, all of our topics are also available for you to enrol in as an external student as well too. So that means that all of our topics, our lectures are video recorded, or perhaps there are purpose-made short videos that accommodate each particular topic. There's online discussions. We use what's called a Collaborate, which is a form of video conferencing with all of our external students. So everything can be done externally, and for that particular reason, this degree is quite popular with students all the way across Australia. Another great feature of our degree is you can start either the start of semester 1, which is in March, or you can start midway through the year with our mid-year intake, which starts in July. So with either of those, we'll develop a study plan with you to make sure that you can complete the degree in 4 years full-time or equivalent and progress at a rate that's going to suit you. So for some people, they might start the degree full-time. Something may shift in their life and they think, oh, actually, I need to drop back to part-time, and that's certainly something that we can help you negotiate and make sure that you're able to gain some traction and success, and make sure we can get you through to the end of the degree. So the degree The first 3 years of the degree are comprised of what we call core topics. So these are set topics that you need to complete, and they provide a good solid foundation. And then in the 4th year of your degree, that's where you then get the opportunity to select the topics that you'd like. So this is your opportunity to specialise in particular area. Now, I've written the word electives, however, I think the correct term now is option topics, but it's essentially the same thing, where we give you a list of available topics. You can select from those, anything from, for instance, I teach rehab and learning following brain injury, autism spectrum, intellectual disability, early intervention and play. There's a very, very wide range of topics that you can select. And this is, I very much encourage students to be very think very critically about where it is that they want their career to go, and then select the topics and the placements that are going to best place them in that position to apply for the jobs and be prepared for the types of roles that they're going to step into when they graduate. So another option for students, so if you're travelling along and you're doing really well and you've got a great GPA or a grade point average, then in 3rd year you might be eligible to apply for an honours year. So essentially that's embedded in your 4th year. So instead of doing the whole year of elective topics, if you get accepted into the honours program, then you'll be directed to a certain stream of topics which are going to prepare you for a future career in research, or, for instance, that's a pathway if you're interested in going down and doing a PhD, which was the pathway that I particularly took. However, it's not just students who are interested in a PhD who might pick up an honours year. Understanding research, actually engaging in the process of going through ethics and collecting the data and analysing the data and lining up a dissertation can be attractive to quite a lot of students. It provides you really important evaluation skills as well too, so that may well be a pathway that's of interest to you. So in terms of assumed knowledge and prerequisites, we have none. So all of the topics, they're very broad. We have very multidisciplinary range of content. However, we're not anticipating or expecting that you have any particular background when you come and you join us. We'll support you in that. So some of our course highlights. This degree very much prepares you for a rewarding career in the disability and community development sectors. That enable you to make an important difference in people's lives. I've loved working in the disability sector. It's extremely, you learn an enormous amount from the people around you, and yeah, it's so many so many career opportunities that are opening up in the sector. Most of our students are getting jobs even before they graduate. This is a little bit different to many other degrees that you might do at university. The employment rates in the disability sector, particularly in light of the recent NDIS change, is phenomenal. So there are thousands of jobs in the disability sector that are needing to be filled. There are jobs that have been created by the NDIS that across Australia, so certainly excellent employment outcomes. Our content is very multidisciplinary, so we have, you'll be working with lecturers from psychology, philosophy, sociology, health, rehabilitation and special education. So it's very diverse, which is extremely interesting. Another important concept is the prac placements. So we have a minimum of 4 prac placements that you do throughout the degree. And these are really important. This is essentially where most of the learning occurs. You know, we can learn about the theory, but it's not until we actually get out there and apply it in practice that it all sifts and it all falls into place. So these are extremely important part of our curricula. You'll do your first prac placement in first semester of year 2. There's another one in second semester of year 2. Then there's another one in 3rd year and at least one more in 4th year. You can decide when you're going to do that. So if you have any particular questions about prac placements, please do let me know and I can answer them specifically. Another point is our course is very recently accredited with the Developmental Educators Australia Inc. So that's our professional body across Australia. And as a result, our graduates are then eligible to practice with full membership as developmental educators. And I'll speak a little bit more in a moment about that role. But back to the pracs again. So these are often referred to as work integrated learning placements. So as I mentioned before, we've got 4 that you need to complete. And these need to be done across a range of settings so that we can tick off against the DE competencies that you are ready for practice in school settings, in perhaps vocational settings, community settings, residential rehabilitation settings, so it will be across the range. The students are supervised by other allied health professionals, so that may be developmental educators, but it could also be social workers, occupational therapists, psychologists, teachers, for instance, depending on the context. And for those of you who are interested and have a bit of a travel bug, there are often also placements further afield. So in the past we've had placements up in Alice Springs. We're just about to send a group of 8 students up for a 3-week block placement up in Bali to work with a school and a community disability service provider up there, which is a wonderful experience. We've also just recently had some students return from Myanmar as well too. So some great international experiences, particularly with developing countries, that really open your eyes and enable you to give back to other developing communities as well. Really enriching and rewarding experience for our students. And we also have a number of students every year who head off and do an exchange with the University of Calgary in Canada. And this might, if this is of interest to you, then we can negotiate in your semester 2 of 3rd year to do your semester 2 over there with that uni, and then those points are credited towards your degree with us. So a great opportunity to head on off. And we also have many of the students from the Uni of Calgary come over and spend some time with us here in Adelaide. So in terms of career opportunities, this is a pretty exciting space. There is a national shortage of developmental educators across Australia. It's very much a growing field, like I mentioned before. The term DE so we're allied health practitioners. It's a term that has grown here in South Australia, particularly with our undergraduate and master's program here. So the term developmental educators is growing and is emerging in other states. However, it's not quite as far advanced as it is in South Australia. So in SA, you'll see a huge range of jobs being advertised for DEs. However, if you're in other states, you might the term DE may not yet be used. However, there are a range of equivalent roles that you can be applying for, and they just may be called something a little bit different. But as I've mentioned, DEs are multidisciplinary disability specialists with expertise in fostering skills, independence and quality of life with people with a range of different disabilities, from developmental to acquired to degenerative conditions, so including people with dementia or Parkinson's disease as an example. So DEs are generally known for a couple of big skill sets, and the first of which is behaviour support interventionists. So learning, one of the big core skills you'll be learning is around positive behaviour support. But also the second big arm is in skill development, so assisting people with disabilities to develop skills in relation to independent living, learning activities of daily living around the home, around the community, in the workplace, supporting people to transition into the workplace as well too. Things such as transport training, whole social skills training, a whole variety. So as allied health professionals, we work very closely with other allied health professionals as well in transdisciplinary teams. So we work very closely with psychologists, occupational therapists, speech pathologists, physios, and special educators and social workers, to name a few. We're a great contribution to the multidisciplinary team because we have an extremely practical approach. We work holistically across the lifespan. So again, you'll be supported to develop your skills in working with young children in early intervention settings, through education, higher education, and then through adult into older adulthood as well. And also our DEs have the capacity to address issues that develop function, independence and social inclusion for people with a disability, as well as their families and their carers. So we not only have a person-centred approach, but we also have a family-centred approach to support as well too. So DEs also deliver developmental and behavioural assessments. So there's a range of assessments that you'll be trained to deliver ethically. So that includes things such as Vineland assessments, sensory profile assessments, for instance. You'll be trained to teach functional life skills, and I've given some examples here. So social communication, self-care, daily living and community access and rec skills. Like I mentioned before, PBS, positive behaviour support, is a big area and a huge need in the community. There's a strong emphasis on assisting people to access and maintain employment, and particularly for people who have sustained or acquired a disability late in life, supporting people to get back into employment as well too after injury. There's a strong focus on assisting people to integrate into school and other education programs, including higher education, as well as specialist support coordination and counselling supports too. Okay, so I've mentioned the NDIS a little bit earlier. This is a big game changer in Australia. Again, very exciting, the NDIS very explicitly recognises developmental educators as service providers, and the NDIA's Guide to Suitability for Providers now includes developmental educators as allied health professionals across a range of support categories. So there is significant demand for our graduates, and because there is a shortage of appropriately qualified practitioners in the sector, in order to meet the growing demand of people registering for the NDIS. So the range of roles include, some of our graduates are now working as planners with the NDIA. Some have moved into support coordination roles, but a huge majority are working as registered developmental educators. So who are the employers? There's a whole range. So as I've mentioned before, the NDIA may be one. The others that I've listed here are South Australian specific. However, there are equivalents all over the country, but a big one that I've mentioned down the bottom is private practice. So this is becoming increasingly common in an NDIS landscape, with many of our graduates forming their own private practice or in a small group with other fellow graduates, and the opportunities there are phenomenal. But some of the South Australian examples are with Novita Children's Services, Autism SA, accommodation and lifestyle support places such as Minda, CARA. We've got a number of our graduates in Department of Human Services, in Department for Child Protection. We have a large team of DEs working with Kudos Services for Children and Young People in early intervention supports. for children with disability. Places such as the South Australian Council on Intellectual Disability, so that's run, the Executive Director is one of our graduates and has a team of DEs who work very closely with fellow staff members who have an intellectual disability themselves, and a couple of others, Life Without Barriers and Guiding Pathways, just as some quick examples, but there are so very many. So I'd love, if this is a profession that interests you, perhaps it's one that you haven't heard about before, it's a growing profession, then I'd encourage you to go check out the website for our professional body, the DEAI, and that's just provided up here on the top, the deai.com.au. And here you can find out more information about the role, the range of jobs that are going out at the moment, a little bit about the history of the role and subsequently of our degree as well too, and also get opportunities to chat with other DEs and network with them. So that's our undergrad degree. However, I also wanted to mention some of our other postgraduate degrees that we offer as well too. So the first is the Graduate Certificate of Disability Studies, and this is, you need to be eligible for this one, you need to have a relevant undergraduate degree, and then this is essentially, if you did this one full time, it would be 1 semester or half a year. You can do it part-time as well too. Again, like with all of our topics, they're available both as internal or as external. Again, with this one, you can start at the start of the year or halfway through. And this is often picked up by students who perhaps have been working in other allied health or education-related roles and would like to enhance their understanding of various disabilities or management approaches. And then we often find that students who do the grad cert then go, oh, what's next? And they can roll that into a master's, which I'll talk about in a moment. So a lot of our students in the grad cert may be from medicine, they may be from physiotherapy, they may be from teaching, for instance. So we have a really lovely multidisciplinary group of students come and join. Now, if you do the grad cert, that doesn't give you full DE status, so you can't then go and graduate as a DE. You can't practice as a DE if you only have the grad cert, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment too. The brand new grad cert that we're just starting to advertise now is our grad cert in PBS, Positive Behaviour Support, and this is a response to the industry where, again, in an NDIS landscape, there needs to be opportunities for disability practitioners to upskill in their positive behaviour support area. So this is available over 1 year. It's part-time, so you do 2 topics in semester 1 and then 2 topics in semester 2, and that's designed for practitioners who are working in the sector so that they can do this while they're working and upskill. You can only start at the start of the year, so there's only one intake in March. However, again, this can also be a pathway into the master's program too. If you're thinking, oh, I've done this, I think I might like to be a DE, then you can continue on and do the master's. So this particular degree is designed for DEs or other professionals who are looking to extend their knowledge and skills in PBS. So similar to the other grad cert, it doesn't give you full DE status on its own. You need to then go on and do the master's if you haven't done the DE undergrad degree. And finally, the Masters of Disability Policy and Practice is a 2-year postgrad degree. However, if you've done a grad cert or you've got standing or credit experience in the sector, you can jump in and do it in 1.5 years. Again, full-time or part-time, internal or external, start at the start of the year or halfway through, and students who graduate with this one are eligible for full membership and can practice as DEs at the end. So a lot of great opportunities. There's a lot of flexibility in this degree as well too. You can choose for it to be, you can choose the content that you're going to be covering from a range of options. And there's also an opportunity in there if you so wish to do a dissertation. So do a research component that can then be used as a leverage into further research higher education degree. So I've just whizzed through a lot of information there, Nikki.
Yeah, but you've done a really great job of it. So I'm going to chime back in now for a few moments, but perhaps while I do that, if anyone has any questions that you'd like to ask Michelle, please type them into that chat box and we will answer them for you live on this chat. So while you think of some really great questions, I'm going to keep going through to the application side of things, which I understand a lot of you would have actually already done. But if you are one of those people that found this webinar through our website, you perhaps haven't. So what this means is you will need to apply through SATAC if you are looking to begin study at Flinders University next year. It does say that applications have closed on Monday the 30th of September. That is a soft close. If you haven't submitted an application, you still can. It just means that there's now a late fee in place. The last date to apply for this is Monday 2nd of December. And then the main offer round this year is actually Friday the 20th of December. So you can change your preferences right up until about the 17th of December, I think it is. So don't feel like you have to lock it in straight away. But we do recommend that if you do want to come to Flinders and study the Bachelor of Disability and Developmental Education, that we recommend you list that as your first preference on your SATAC application. That way, hopefully you'll receive an offer on Friday, December 20. If you don't receive an offer, make sure you get in touch with us because we can always talk you through your options, perhaps see why you haven't been made an offer and give you some other pathway options into it as well. After the New Year break, we will be releasing more offers as well. So from January 10 and then continuously right up until semester starts essentially. And I should also mention that this is for undergraduate degrees. This is for the Bachelor of Disability and Developmental Education. Postgraduate offers are slightly different, so if you are interested in those postgraduate options, make sure you have a look at our website or the SATAC website to see when those offer dates and closing dates are listed. We still haven't had any questions come through. We must have, you must have given them all the information that they needed. But if you do have a question, please type it into that chat box there. However, if you think of a question perhaps a little bit later on, you can always ask us via email or over the phone. Our team is the Admissions and Prospective Students Office. So that 1300 number, if you dial that, then press option 1. That will come through to someone in my team and we'll be able to talk to you about all of your pathway options, a little bit about the course. But if you do have any in-depth questions, I can certainly pass them on to Michelle to answer as well. Please feel free to sign up for any webinars that we have coming up. There's some more course-specific ones, but there are also some more general ones as well, like uni life and scholarships. And I've just seen we have a question come through. What are the possible pathways into this course? I know for OT you can do health sciences and then transfer.
Yeah, great. Yes, absolutely. Good question. Thanks for asking. Absolutely. So with this particular degree, I think if you get a good GP, if you start off doing another degree and you get a good GPA, you can always apply to do a transfer over into this degree once you've started. That's perfectly fine. We also have a guaranteed entry for students who have done a Certificate 4 in Disability. So that's something I didn't mention earlier, but may be of relevance to a number of people.
Yes,
Easy.
Sure. So actually with a Certificate 4 in anything, you actually have guaranteed entry into this degree. It just means you won't receive any credit.
There we go. Okay.
So if you have a Certificate 4, you have guaranteed entry into this degree. So I'll just lean over you here and grab this sheet for you. With the ATAR, if you are a school leaver and you're planning to use your ATAR as your basis of admission, at the moment for the Bachelor of Disability and Developmental Education, you're looking at an ATAR around the 60 mark. So we don't necessarily have any pathway courses designed specifically for it, like the Bachelor of Health Sciences into OT, because it's not quite as competitive as the Occupational Therapy double degree that Flinders offers.
It's very achievable. One of the reasons why the ATAR is so achievable is, again, we don't have caps on our degree, which means that there's no limitations on how many students we can take into this one. We're national, we're online, so there's quite a lot of flexibility in our degree. So it's open. We provide opportunities for students in a range of different positions.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And a lot of people tend to think that because it's got a lower ATAR admission rank to get in, that it's perhaps easier or, perhaps, easier than other courses that have those higher ATARs to get into. That's certainly not always the case. It just means that we have more places available for them, whereas something perhaps like your Bachelor of Health Sciences, Master of IT, there's some really limited places available, and it's a really popular course, so lots of people apply for it. So that's why we have to keep that ATAR minimum selection rank up nice and high, whereas disability, as Michelle mentioned, we have a lot of places available because it is available online as well, which means we can keep that down nice and low.
Yeah.
So we had another question about a certificate. So with a certificate 3, you'd actually be really competitive for a place in this degree. We can't guarantee it like we can with a certificate 4, but you'd be competitive for a place. You can choose to sit the stat as well if you want to, and essentially what that means is we'll just look at whatever's highest. We'll look at your certificate 3, we'll look at your stat scores, we'll look at your school scores if they're still relevant. We'll look at whatever's highest, but certainly with a certificate 3, in anything you'd be competitive for a place within this degree. Okay, we've got another question. I applied and received an offer to do online. Can I change later to a Flinders if I find online a struggle? Yeah, so this is another really common question. If you apply for an online course and you wish to come onto campus, you will be looking at transferring, so submitting another application, but you can transfer fairly easily onto on campus. It does mean that if you start online, it means that all of your topics are online. You don't have a choice. You're not really technically meant to come onto campus to come into lectures and things like that. However, if you apply for the on-campus version, you can actually pick online topics. So not all of your study has to be done on campus. You can actually have a choice where you might do 2 topics on campus, where you really need to concentrate and you need to listen to the lecture, and perhaps you learn best by coming onto campus. But maybe you think there's a couple of topics you could do online as well, and you have that choice. Whereas if you apply for online, all of your topics are online. Now, there's another question here about the placement side of things.
I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Excellent. So the question was, are there many options for placements in the country? I'm from the York Peninsula and have applied for the BDD online. I wondered if there were many options for those of us in the country. Excellent. So good question. For students who are in regional or rural areas of Australia, yes, you do have to do all of the minimum placements. However, where you do them can be negotiated based on where you are. So again, we've got a team, the WIL team, which is called the Work Integrated Learning team, who are responsible for placing students. And for those of you in regional areas, they'll be in contact with you early to negotiate and identify a range of, perhaps there may be fairly limited the numbers of DEs, however there will be other allied health providers or schools or other community services that may well meet the requirements for your placements. So we'll certainly communicate with each student to find out what their requirements are, what accommodations or adjustments need to be put in place, and we'll work closely to make sure that we can figure something out. But it's a very relevant question.
Yeah, of course. Okay, great. Thank you. I think that seems to be all of the questions that have come through for now. Again, if you do have any questions that you think of at a later date, please feel free to get in touch with us. That's what we're here to do, is we want to help you try and transition into Flinders University as easy as possible and as smooth as possible. So make sure you ask us any questions and we can always let you know. But in the meantime, thank you very much for helping us out today, Michelle, and telling us all about the Bachelor of Disability and Developmental Education. And hopefully, for those of you that are in Year 12, which I know a lot of you will be, good luck with the last few weeks of school. middle, you're almost there, and hopefully we will see you on campus next year. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.